What's up? I can't believe that I'm actually going to tell this story, especially in a public forum, but fuck it. And yes, this actually did happen. I actually did get accidentally kidnapped and accidentally consumed crack cocaine. So this happened in Chile, South America, over 7 years ago now, during my young, reckless years. And this was during a time where I didn't know who I was. I had no direction. I was going through a lot of depression and anxiety, and I was an incredibly shy kid that I only knew how to deal with through the vice of drugs and alcohol. You know, they just gave me that permission to lower those walls and allow to kind of let loose. And this was one of those really crazy nights that just went completely out of hand, and I got myself in a very, very tricky situation. I have to be very careful with who I name here, but let's just call this guy Pedro. So it was Pedro's bachelor party, and we're preparing to go out to the strippers and just have a wild night, right? So we start off at a house drinking lots of alcohol, beer and pisco, which is a strong South American spirit, which is very strong and gets you drunk very quickly. And this was at a time where I didn't know how to handle my alcohol and drugs, and not by tolerance. Like, I outdrank lots of people, probably because I'm Australian, but more so that I didn't know when to stop myself. It was never a case of, I'm just gonna have a few beers, let loose, have fun, let it go. No, it was always go hard or go home. Get fucked up or don't bother drinking at all kind of mentality. So we'll go to a few bars, drink some more, meet some people, dance, whatever. And then eventually, once it hit, I think 12 o'clock, we decided to go to a strip club. So the strip clubs in Chile are basically brothels, right? It's very grimy. The walls are usually painted black with red neon signs, and a kind of place that I physically don't think I could go to these days, just because of how much more sensitive I am to those vibes, because it's kind of like the underbelly, dark realm of Santiago. And there's just a lot of people looking to take advantage of you, especially tourists. So Pedro has a cocaine, he gives me my portion, I go in the bathroom to have my little line, but at the time I didn't have a good education on human psychology and drugs, otherwise I wouldn't have mixed alcohol with cocaine, because actually it's not a good combination, and I will be making a video in the future about purely my cocaine experiences, what it's like, and go a little bit more in depth with it. Anyways, I have my line, and at this point I'm like, whew, the beast has come out. I am stimulated, you could say, super drunk and just very loud-mouthed and talkative, right? That wild side of me didn't really get the chance to play very often. So when it does, it just went too far. So I go back to the main area where everyone's having a blast, and a girl walks up to me, right? She's this Peruvian girl that starts chatting me up, and I'm like, oh yeah, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm Australian. She's like, oh, Australian. Oh. South American girls are very impressed when you come from Australia. And because I was very naive and stupid at this time, my inflated ego thought that she was interested in me, but really she was thinking, oh, you're from Australia, that must mean you have money, right? So she was really playing me at the time. And I shouted her drinks, and I think that's how it works. Like, you buy the girl drinks and then the portion goes to the bar. And because I didn't have any cash and only had my card, I gave my card to the bar. And the reason why I'm telling you this, because I actually ended up getting scammed hardcore that night, which I'll get into in just a little bit. So anyways, I'm chatting with this girl, she's sitting on my lap, and then we start hooking up. And I kid you not, her identical twin sister walks up, and then she introduces me to her, and then we start talking, and then the night's a blur, but I just flash forward into one girl sitting on each of my lap, and then I'm like hooking up with both of them, and my cousin's behind me just like, I'm so proud of you, cousin. And I know this may sound really dirty and sleazy to some of you, but dude, I was young, horny, and stupid. Like, give me a break. And this is before my girlfriend anyway. As the night goes on, we go to like 2 more strip clubs after that. And I'll never forget this guy. He was like I don't know, kind of like the talkative, loudmouth, arrogant douchebag of the group who just did a lot of drugs, probably dealt them a lot, and he was just a sleazy, dirty, lying sack of shit kind of guy. You know, the kind of dude who would always be doing drugs and then try to get everyone to do it with them because they consciously or unconsciously want them to go to their level, you know what I mean? Like, oh, come on, dude, just fucking have a line, stop being a pussy, you know? So it was at the end of the night, and by end of the night, I mean like 7 or 8 in the morning. It was already broad daylight, and we're stumbling out of this strip club. And I was just like drunk out of my mind. Everything was hazy and dizzy, and I was just still kind of stimulated from the cocaine, but sort of coming down from it. So we're all walking in the streets of Santiago in a group, and then we ended up all scattering, and I'm walking with this guy with my arm around him, like, yeah, I'm saying who knows what. And you know how you have those drug-induced nights and you're full of euphoria and these strangers are like your best friend and you think that you're gonna hang out with them for the rest of your life, but then really as soon as the drugs wear off, you're like, who the fuck am I hanging out with? Who are you? And then you never talk to them again, kind of thing. So I'm roaming through the streets with this guy, and I got separated from my cousin for whatever reason. And I'm like, oh, I just want to go to another strip club because I didn't get any action, so I was horny. And then this guy's like, yeah, dude, let's go to another strip club. I'm like, yeah? Dude, come hop in my car and we'll go to another strip club. So I get excited. I'm like, yeah, this guy gets me. He wants to continue partying. Everyone else is pussing out. So I get in his car and he's like, do you have any coke? And I'm like, yeah, I got a little bit. So I unwrap my newspaper, which had a little bit of cocaine. And then he just snatches it out of my hand and manners much? So this guy starts driving like an absolute maniac. Like I'm talking at least 100, 120 kilometers an hour through the streets of Chile, just beeping, just overtaking everyone. I'm like generally scared for my life. Like, what the fuck, dude? You're driving like an absolute psycho. And then we ended up being in like almost like the slums of Santiago, just a really dodgy neighborhood with broken windows and bars and graffiti everywhere, and just somewhere that you could just tell is full of drugs and prostitutes. And this guy actually did kidnap me. And I mean this by he tricked me into going with him because I thought we were going to go to another strip club. But what actually happened was that because I'm an Australian tourist, he just automatically thought I had money, right? And remember how I told you I gave my card at the first strip club we went to? He actually took money out of the card because the next time I went to an ATM, it ate my card because someone stole over $500 from me. And I know it was that night because when I went to the bank, the chick that worked there read the statement and she snickered. She went, it says Santiago, girls, girls, girls. And I'm like, okay, I know how that looks. And even though I did go to a strip club, I can tell you I did not spend $500. Someone scammed me. I mean, guys, $500 at a strip club in Chile could probably get you an orgy, probably. So anyways, this guy who we will name Speedy Gonzalez. Oh my God, Tom, that's so offensive and such a derogatory, stereotypical name for the Latino community. Guys, relax, I'm Chilean too. If you are offended that I invite you to get my t-shirt, I'm offended that you're offended. So this guy really scammed me and wanted to suck more money out of me. So he took me to the slums of Chile, where he picked up what I assumed to be his girlfriend, and not to sound overly judgmental, but she really looked like a crack whore. Like the kind of girl who would lick your asshole for a packet of cigarettes. So she gets in the car and she had a really weird vibe, and I remember her like kind of touching my hand a little bit or trying to seduce me, or it was really blurry night, but I just remember something really weird going on over there. And anyway, Speedy Gonzalez brings out like this pen, right? And that's how I can describe it. It literally looked like a pen, a ballpoint pen. And he put some sort of a yellow substance in it, and then he starts smoking it. And I don't remember if he lit it from a lighter or if it was like an electrical contraption, but I remember him smoking this thing, and in my mind, my stupid, naive, ignorant mind thought that it was cocaine, right? I'm like, okay, I didn't know that you can smoke cocaine, but I guess people have different methods on ingesting all sorts of drugs, so okay, I'm not gonna judge this guy, right? And he offers it to me, and again, I'm thinking that this is cocaine that you just so happen to smoke. So then I take a hit. And then this faint vapor-like smoke comes out. And I just remember the feeling being very dirty and just gross and sucking the life force out of me. It just had a very depressing, tiring effect on me and just made me more out of it, and my brain kind of just turned a little bit into mush. And don't forget that I was drinking a lot of alcohol and I did cocaine before, so this is like all like me thinking back, I'm so embarrassed that I even got myself in these situations and did the reckless things that I did. But you know, it is what it is, man. And the rest of this day I struggle to remember, but I'm like in the back of the car kind of coming in and out of consciousness because I was so exhausted, and I'm so depleted energetically, emotionally, spiritually, physically. My body's like tingling and screaming at my mind like, dude, I'm fucking tired, I just want to sleep. And my mind's just but that being said, as soon as I smoked the crack, even me just thinking about it now, I feel exhausted, right? And I'm kind of like sleeping and then waking up and kind of coming in and out of consciousness, and I'd open my eyes and there'd be like two other dudes in the car and they're all talking. I don't remember what they're talking about, but then I remember them talking about me. Then I pass out and I open my eyes, and then this girl's like going through my pockets and going through my coins, and that's how poor I was, I had coins. And then I was like, yeah, what? I was just too exhausted to care, you know, and then I pass out, regain consciousness, and then she's like gone through my phone or something, and I just like, whatever, pass out. Open my eyes, and then she's like, I just remember her touching me. It was really weird. Whatever, after a couple hours, I'm sure this guy realized that, well, I kind of fucked up and kidnapped this dude for no reason. He's got no money, he's broke, right? This could have been like 12 in the afternoon, who knows? He starts the car, drops his girlfriend off, and again, driving like a fucking maniac, and I'm really scared at this point because I'm getting sober. And at the end of a really dirty, wild night, and you're coming off drugs and reality sets in, it's not a good feeling. You just feel like kind of a piece of shit. Like, what the fuck? How the fuck did you get yourself in this situation, you fucking moron? Like, seriously? Isn't the cocaine, the alcohol, the strippers enough for you? You have to go out with this douchebag and then smack crack cocaine? You piece of shit, right? So I'm just feeling immense guilt, shame, and remorse. Not to mention, I feel like my life's on the line because this maniac is driving like a fucking psycho. And then he just stops in the middle of God knows when. He's like, all right, get out, dude, I need to go to work. This is when I got a little bit of my energy back and kind of lost my shit. And when I say lost my shit, I mean, I was firm enough to stand my ground and tell him, dude, you are not dropping me off here. I have no fucking money. I have no idea where I am. You are going to drop me off somewhere where I can at least get picked up. I don't give a shit if you have work, dude. And he was like reluctant, and the guy even had the nerve to be like, yeah, I'll even give you a bit of money for the bus. He's like, oh, you mean the couple coins that you took off me, you fucking dirtbag? But he caved in at the end because I wasn't gonna leave. I had no money. I had no idea where I was. I had no SIM card, so I couldn't call anyone. I had no one's number. I had no one's address, dude. You know, I would have seriously been royally fucked if I got out of that car at that moment. So anyway, he drops me off at someone's uncle's house, and then I ended up getting picked up. And I remember arriving at my cousin's house, and she was furious, like seething, right? Because everyone was so worried sick about where the fuck I left. And they were obviously calling Speedy Gonzalez, and he didn't pick up his phone, right? So everyone was not only worried sick, but they were so angry at me. And as soon as my cousin saw my face, my yellow, pale, disgusting face, she knew straight away. She's like, you fuck. She just, first of all, she fucking slapped me. And she's like, how could you do this? Go out with that fucking dickhead. And just like, you know, rah, 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 just starts yelling at me. And he's like, oh, you smoked that crack cocaine, didn't you? Right? So she knew straight away. Like, she lost her shit, and rightfully so. And anyways, I just stumbled into the house and like a zombie, just going up the stairs, and I just went straight to the bathroom because I needed water. I didn't drink water for like at least 8 hours at this point, probably more, 10 hours. So I literally felt like I was dying of thirst, and seeing that tap water was like my saving grace. Like, obviously you shouldn't drink South American tap water, but there was no spring water at the time and everything was closed, and I don't know, and I was just I felt like anyway that I was literally dying of thirst, so I needed something, and I actually did get sick the next day. So anyway, what ended up happening to this guy, your mate Speedy Gonzalez, is that he disappeared off the map, and all of his friends, even the ones that went out with us that night, were trying to hunt him down to beat the absolute shit out of him. So he got cut off, and I don't even know what happened to him still to this day, because he fucked up, dude. He just fucked with the wrong dude, because you gotta think like, and I'm not gonna get into it here, but let's just say that you don't fuck with my family in Chile, and especially kidnap their baby Australian cousin and influence me to smoke crack cocaine and take me God knows where. That shit is not on. So yeah. And just for those of you who think that this is clickbait and I didn't really get kidnapped because I voluntarily went with him, but you could argue that if a pedophile was to trick a kid to go into his van because he has candy, like the kid could voluntarily go with him, but as soon as he goes into the van and the door closes, it is a kidnapping. Yes, of course, I didn't have any guns pulled on me or wasn't super dramatic like that, but the guy did trick me into thinking that we'll go into a strip club, which he obviously had zero intentions for, especially because they're all closed anyways. He wanted to use me for my money or drugs or God knows whatever his intentions was, but he just wanted to use me. And he purposely avoided contact with everyone at the bachelor party and was never seen again as far as I'm aware. I kind of feel for the guy a little bit, because it's like, oh man, what a waste of a kidnapping. I'm sorry I didn't have anything better to offer. Oh man, hilariously tragic, right? So what is the moral of this story? Except for obviously bringing more cash and drugs with you and getting laid early, that way you're more satisfied by the end of the night. Obviously I'm joking. You know what? The vast majority of you guys aren't going to put yourself in a situation like this, and not all cocaine-fueled nights is going to finish with you in the back of a car smoking crack cocaine with a prostitute in the slums of Chile. And you could argue that the best form of harm reduction is not to take drugs at all. And you know what? I agree. I think that taking hard drugs like cocaine, speed, meth, and even a lot of prescription medications is going to ultimately be bad for you 99% of the time, in my opinion. But that being said, that is an ideal world, not the real one. I'm sure that most of you who follow my channel are aware of how much of an epic failure the war on drugs is, and how drug prohibition not only lowers the quality of drugs, but gives more power to the black market. But I think a more important point to make is that when you get into that world of just getting fucked up on hard drugs, it's most likely going to attract a low quality crowd, which is unnecessarily going to put you in situations that is going to influence you to make poorer decisions in your life. And while drug-induced nights are super fun and euphoric and wild and have, produce a lot of crazy stories, they don't actually give you anything in the long run. And in my opinion, even though I do have a bias against hard drugs like cocaine, I think that they end up taking a piece of your soul. And I think most of you will agree with me here, at least those who may have had a little bit more experience with these things. Because when we're young, we think we're invincible and that drugs are the meaning of life because they're so amazing. And hey, drugs are like the most seductive, easy things in the world to get into, just because they give you just high satisfaction and that dopamine hit, Now, I wish I could tell you that this was my rock bottom and I never took hard drugs again, but this would be an absolute lie. I definitely got myself in a lot more trickier situations and had to learn a more powerful lesson to finally get out of that world. But you got to realize, guys, that this was a point in my life that I was in a lot of pain, I had very low standards of myself. I didn't give a shit about my body or my mental health or my future. And because I was so incredibly depressed, anxious, and so shy that I had all these walls built up, that drugs gave me this illusion of this confidence coming out and gave me this euphoria and fulfillment that I didn't get to experience in my sober life. And this is something that I had to deal with in a very heavy way later in my life. Now, do I regret going into all the things that I went into? Well, I don't regret this. The reason I don't regret this is not because of the lessons and the growth that I gained from this, but it's more because it's not very practical to regret anything in your life because it's already happened. you know, what are you gonna do? Wish that it never did? Yeah, that's a surefire way to descend into madness. But if I could go back in time with all the wisdom that I have now, of course I wouldn't do any of that. But that's not reality. And I think it's wise to learn from other people's mistakes rather than make your own. And it's like the saying goes, you know, a wise man learns from other people's mistakes while a fool makes his own. And this doesn't mean never make mistakes in your life, but it's like, there are just certain things that you just probably should avoid, like taking cocaine in South America, you know? I'm a completely different person now, and I don't actually take any drugs at all, except for cannabis from time to time, I suppose. You know, except for crack cocaine every evening, but that's for my anxiety, so that doesn't really count. For someone who used to be a heavy cigarette smoker and cannabis user, it is very difficult to find a good substitute, especially when it comes to natural organic herbs and nothing else. I think my favorite blend so far has got to be the Dream Lodge e-liquid. It's especially good to wind down at the end of the day. Just be prepared for some pretty wild and crazy dreams. So if you're looking for a bit of a buzz but want a healthier alternative, then go check out Bear Blend at bearblend.com. Show them some love and use the promo code YourMateTom, all one word, at the checkout for a 10% discount. How good's that, mate? But anyways, guys, I wanted to share this story with you guys to not only share where I came from and the crazy shit that I got myself into, but also to hopefully teach you guys that you don't really need to take any of this stuff. It's really not worth it at the end of the day. But again, who the fuck am I to tell anyone to do or not do anything, right? This is the real world, not an ideal one. People are gonna take drugs. Of course they are. They're just way too tempting. And I think that if you do take drugs, at the very least, make sure you test your substances. I'll leave a testing kit in the description box below. Make sure you're with good people who genuinely care about you, and just know your substances. Know what you're getting yourself into, and don't mix shit. Because I used to do this all the time without realizing how damaging it is for your brain, but that's a different story. If you guys enjoyed this story, make sure you leave a like, share it with a friend, and comment below. Tell me what you think. And if you guys want to hear more of these wild drug-induced stories, then let us know in the comment section below. Unfortunately, I have more of these stories than I'd like to admit. But hey man, I was young and stupid, don't judge me. I invite you guys to contribute on Patreon if you want to support this channel and see more high production documentary type films. I do have a few that I want to work on, but it takes a lot of time, effort and money. So if you want to help us reach our first milestone, which was so close guys, even if you want to contribute as little as $2 a month, feel free. I'll leave a link in the description box below, or you can check out the merch store, up to you. But that's it guys, have an awesome day, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.